I don't know about you, but I find myself feeling quite anxious and nervous on the cusp of a new year. Yet I still enjoy the beauty of this time, the celebration of hope and light. It's something that I'd love to grow and nurture inside. So to balance the anxiety, I decided to create a calendar from scratch. Nothing digital, just pure analog delight. A vessel for my creative expressions and a safe space that I will take with me to 2026. It turned out to be more than just a calendar, but a journal with place for art and reflections. In this video, I'll show you what I've made, what meanings I infused in it, and what techniques I found easy and useful. Maybe you will get inspired to create your own calendar/art journal. That would be just wonderful. And this project is accessible to anyone, absolutely, especially those who are tired of complexity and are looking for fun, experiment, simplicity, color, and accessible loveliness of the end result. It's very beginner friendly too, and also I used the cheapest art materials such as simple office paper and children's gouache. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Anna, and I started this channel to share art journaling tips and inspirations, and also how I built my personal art practice for self-exploration. First, we will flip through all the 12 months that I've created. I will show you all the 12 collages and symbolism and meaning behind them. Then I will dive deeper into all the techniques and tools and stages of the project to make it very easy for you to follow. And as usual, in the final part of the video, I will reveal my key insights and takeaways. Also, I will share how I'm going to use this calendar throughout the next year. And spoiler, it won't be just a passive wall decor. There are time stamps, chapters in the video, so you can navigate it the way you want it. For January collage, I've chosen the word slumber to depict a very special feeling of liminality and vagueness of the beginning of the year. It's also my birthday month. I will turn 43. The rounded, cloud-like blue shape represents the night, and this plant-shaped element is me, floating in there, yet still growing. Here and further on, I opted for simple forms and 1 to 3 elements with no detailing. Thus, I could focus on the texture and patterns of the paper and also remove the possible overwhelm. I will break down the choice and arrangement of elements in the next chapter. February is a month of reverie, daydreaming, and relaxed intuitive creativity. The eye-shaped collage symbolizes vision and maybe looking past the visible parts, more like a feeling and perception. I very much like the combination of textures and colors here. These papers were hand-painted in a freehand way. I think this is one of my favorite collages in this calendar. It's soothing and stimulating at once. March is the month of light, of course, because of the spring solstice and the overall symbolic meaning of it. I was born and grew up in Western Siberia, where late March was when you finally feel the warmth of the sun on the face. Here in Serbia, where I live now, spring comes much earlier, and winters are not harsh at all. So this is the simplest one-element collage. I just picked a very vibrant me-painted paper and cut out a circle. I didn't use any compass or round object. I wanted a freehand, clumsy, and alive cutting experience. And I think the end result is the quintessence of light. April is the month of wonder, when all the blooming happens and hence is the flower motif. I used 1 sheet of painted paper and cut out 3 elements: the flower, the stem, and a little circle. I very much enjoy a minimalist approach to collaging, leaving enough air to breathe and to reflect. Here I also wanted to convey the feeling of movement and action that is so present in mid-spring. The same movement is also felt in May, which is the month of a psalm, represented by the bird. I've chosen to combine the greenness of trees and plants with the bird silhouette. And once again, here the texture of painted paper creates the depth and interest, and shape becomes just a frame for the impression that is already there. For June, I've chosen an abstract composition made of 3 elements. The prompt word was reflection, so I took 2 green-colored similar shapes, as if one is the reflection of the other, and the third smaller element feels like an eye that observes this reflection. Abstract is always such a lovely and liberating experiment, and you can always distill the meaning after the end piece is created. Treasure was the prompt word for July, and thus I collaged a fruit. Maybe it's an apple, maybe something else, I'm not sure. I've just cut a round shape and then added 2 more elements for a little stick and the leaf. I very much enjoy the summery happiness of these colors together. Here I could have used a white pen instead of black to make the calendar grid more visible, but it's not a big deal. August and another abstract. I've chosen the word connection for this month and combined 3 elements, like the sky, the surface, and the depths of the earth. Or it can be emotional, mental, and physical levels of perception. Whatever symbols and associations the word connection evokes. That's why I love using words outside context, to explore the meanings more, without any restraints. September is depth for me, and I've chosen to depict a huge drop of water. I think it's my another favorite collage from the calendar. It's simple and straightforward, yet there's something about it that makes me want to look at it longer. But it's me. You might make and enjoy something completely different. And noticing to what exactly your eyes and your heart react is important for understanding yourself. October is a month of farewell, due to the seasonal symbolism and also my personal story. Farewells can be sad, but with time that sadness transforms into bittersweet remembering, something distant yet still close to heart. That's why I've decided to collage mountains, simple, almost symmetrical, to balance the lyrical mood. And I like to imagine that the calendar grid background here is a crystal clear mountain lake. November is presence. Be it presence in my own life, or presence in my thoughts, or presence in the moments of rest and contemplation, which for me are almost always associated with a cup of some warm drink. Just 2 elements used for the collage. The combination of different shades of one color create depth and is one of my favorite techniques to add softness and interest. This is the only collage in this calendar that has more than 3 elements. It has 5. I added these small fragments from the paper that I did not paint, but used it to lay my brushes on. Hence, it carries very accidental, unplanned marks. I thought it would be a wonderful circle to connect the beginning and the final. The word is memory, which is an invitation to look back, remember, and decide what to take along. And the final page that I created, which has become the calendar's cover, is this. During this whole process of creation, I was in love with color yellow and decided to add more of it here to make it sound louder. And for the background, I just cut a bigger shape from the paper that I pressed against an excessively painted page and thus obtained this whimsical texture. As I wanted this project to be easy, accessible, and as stress-free as possible, I used very simple and cheap supplies that I already had for my experiments and that can be bought in any stationery store for children. For making my own painted paper, I used just office paper. I don't remember how much it was, it's just plain white. Then a children's set of gouache, 10 colors in tubes, it was about $2. Cheap coarse bristle brushes that I bought for 2.5 or $3 and a plastic card from a SIM card that is no longer active and a glass for water. I painted 24 sheets of paper, including the one which was stained in the process of changing brushes. Such random patterns are usually the most interesting ones. For the calendar pages, I used thicker paper, also bought in a school stationery store. It was around $1.5. And different tools for cutting and mark making. I cut each page in half with an X-Acto knife on a cutting board, but simple scissors can easily do the job and they are safer anyway. For the collage process, I used a simple glue stick, scissors of 2 sizes, big and small, a black pen, and papers, of course. And now let me tell you more about the magic of painting your own papers. This process holds more wonders than you might expect. When I did it for the first time, I was blown away by the creative freedom and inspiration and ease that it unlocked in me. I won't go too deep into the details of this practice right now, but in a nutshell, the trick is to create different textures. Smooth with the help of a plastic card, while coarse bristle brushes help create more textured patterns. I very much enjoy the swirls and circles, and I also mixed several colors on one sheet and didn't rinse or wash brushes. Once I thought I had enough richer colored papers, I used water to dilute lighter washes. In this respect, gouache is a great type of paint. When diluted, it very much resembles watercolor. Before, I also tried to use watercolor and acrylic paints to create these colored patterned papers, and they also look great. Just use whatever you have or whatever you prefer, and cheap paints remove the block of scarcity, and I will touch upon this thing in the final chapter of the video with key insights and takeaways. And one more thing that I forgot to mention about using children's gouache is that it is easily removable from the surfaces, your work surfaces. And I'm a very messy, creative, and if you're like me, I recommend using tempera, not acrylic. And if you are using acrylic, just make sure to cover your desk with some protective cloth. After the papers were made, I had to choose the format, the size of my calendar. I had a set of thicker paper from a school supply store again, so I simply cut each sheet in half and that size felt right. The dimensions of one calendar sheet, in my case, are 20 by 29.5 centimeters. You can pick whatever variant works for you. It can be a bigger size, a smaller size, like a journal size, or a small, tiny notebook size. It's always up to you to choose what you want to create. But make sure that you have enough space on the page for all the elements that you would like to include, such as collage or a photo, the calendar grid, the name of the month, and just any other elements. As I enjoy adding an extra layer of meaning to my art, I decided to choose prompts, words for each month. It took me some time just to sit down and to think and then collect all the ideas and then make a selection. And you can absolutely use my prompts that I came up with. There is nothing wrong with it because your end result, your calendar, will be unique. It will be filled with your own meanings and with your personality. Having prompts makes the whole process of collaging easier and more intuitive. The mechanism of associations and symbols works in a very magical way, and it is important to let it guide you without overthinking. The first association is usually the best. And once you decide, you pick all your prompts, just ask yourself what images and associations it evokes in you and how does it go together with the month that you are going to depict in collages. This practice is so amazing and I cannot recommend it enough. By the way, I forgot to mention it before, but if you have children around you, be them your own children or your grandchildren or any other children, this calendar making practice can be a very fun activity to have together. I don't have children running around, but if I had, I would totally suggest having this practice together. The collaging part can be the most intimidating one in this project, especially if you have never used free-form intuitive cutting before. And that's why you can use my suggestions, and for that you can go back to the chapter where I showed you all the 12 months. Again, there is nothing wrong in following my instructions and using the shapes that I suggest, because the end result will be unique. It will be yours. It will be your papers that you've created. It will be your eyes and your hands that will choose certain angles and smoothness of lines. So don't overcomplicate. Just use the easiest approach that you can find at the moment. Here are some key collaging tips that might help you. Choose simple and big enough shapes first. You can always trim them later. Just make sure that you leave enough space for the grid later. Arrange the elements before you glue them. Sometimes it helps to arrange the elements the way that looks beautiful to you, and then take a quick photo with your phone of the composition that you created. It happened to me several times when first I created a beautiful composition, of course from my own perspective, and then when I went to the gluing stage, I shifted everything around and I no longer remembered what it should look like. And that's where taking photos helps a lot. Don't be afraid to spoil the page. You can always start a new one. I have at least 3 pages that didn't work for me. Here they are. These are my flops. And it is important to have enough pages for your calendar just in case, so that you don't stress out if you think that you've spoiled something. Then you have enough supplies, materials to start anew, and then maybe choose between the variants, the one that you think is the most beautiful one. As usual, the first 2 collages are the hardest. And then you just catch the rhythm and the process moves very smoothly. This calendar is a very fun, relaxing and intuitive project, and you don't have to stress out about it. That's why I remove those factors that make it feel too complicated for you. For example, for me, the biggest anxiety-inducing thing is related to scarcity. That's why I always make sure that I have enough papers, enough painted papers that look beautiful. I would rather overdo than underdo, because then I will feel relaxed, which is so important for feeling a wave of inspiration and creativity. I still messed up. All my pages are not perfect. For example, here I had to tear away the letters because I messed things and then I glued everything back. But there are still there's roughness of paper showing through, but I don't care. After all, we don't have an art supervisor breathing behind our back. We decide what we are happy with and no one else. I decided to pick the easiest and again the most stress-free variant of making the calendar grid, which is collaging it. And if you feel confident with mark making, you can just draw directly on paper, but for me it was just too much. And that's why I created some extra painted paper using lighter washes that were with added water to gouache. And then once those papers were ready, I just decided which colors went better with the ready collages, and that's it. After the painted papers were ready, I cut each one in 2 parts, then shaped them preliminarily, added the grid, and I decided to do the simplest version with just thicker gel pen, and then I would trim the grid element to fit the month page better. Again, I had a few mistakes, which is absolutely fine, and that's why I had enough papers to do the replacement. Yet there were still some things, at least one thing that I would do differently next time if I started this again anew. I think I would make sure to make the calendar grid papers lighter, to make the black gel pen more visible. For example, in the month of July, this paper is too dark and all the numbers are barely seen. But I decided to leave it anyway because I like the combination of colors and I don't know, I just don't care. The most important thing is for me to like what I've made. As for the names of the month, I also collaged them. Some are contracted, some are full, but you decide, depending on how much space you have on the calendar page. And I made them more or less of the same color, uniform, to create more uniformity throughout the collage, but it's not necessary. You decide what custom proportions of chaos and order you want to introduce into your project. At first, I was not going to add the prompt words to the page, but then I changed my mind and I did add them, and I very much like the feel and the look. Each page now is like a story to me. And if you like this effect, I recommend that you also use collage technique here, because again it removes the possibility of making a mistake of course subjective one, so that you can just turn around, because I had to decide where to place each prompt word in what orientation, and it took me a little bit of several experiments, let's put it like this. But yeah, so, and for the prompt words I used darker paper and white gel pen. There are many variants to use to bind the calendar together, but I found that the easiest one is to use 2 small paper clips or just one big, and then choose a twig or a ribbon as a final touch. And also another variant that I was going to use initially is to make 2 holes here and here, and then sew everything together, again using a ribbon. But I had to give up on this variant because I located the collages too close to the top. So if you decide to sew everything together instead of using the clips, make sure that you leave enough space on the top of each page. I'm going to turn this calendar into a year-long creative ritual. At the end of each month, I'm going to retrospectively look back and reflect on what happened, what I want to take with me along to the next month, what I want to leave behind, and I will use the other side of the page to write down my reflections, maybe draw something, maybe collage something, maybe place some memory ephemera, whatever I decide to choose. And then I'm going to place each sheet, the month that has already passed, at the back. And thus, at the end of the year, I will have a collection of stories, of reflections to come back to and to see what happened to me and how I changed, how I stayed the same. I don't know, just to have yet another conversation with myself. Our memory can play tricks with us. Sometimes we can distort or alter our memories without even catching it. And that's why journaling is one of the few ways to document yourself with clarity. And I feel like I'm already shifting into the third chapter of this video, which is about key insights and takeaways that I've got a while and after creating this calendar project. The most important benefit of this calendar is that it helped me remove my end of the year anxiety and fear of the future, which I have. Of course, I can constantly tell myself to calm down, to be more optimistic, to trust the flow, and this helps, of course, but only to a certain extent. Art practice is such a wonderful, gentle, and supportive way to tackle mental challenges that we can encounter in our life. And by making this calendar, I removed my anxiety. I didn't remove it completely, but I relieved it so much. By making this next year mine, by fine-tuning with it in advance, by making it more beautiful and promising, and sort of mapping out the meanings that I want to use as anchors in 2026. This project unlocked even more creative freedom and independence. All the techniques and tricks that I've shared with you are about making yourself the center of your art. Not some references, not some pictures from the books or magazines, but you, your own symbols, meanings, visions, memories, and thoughts. This past year has become the year when I addressed my own creative rigidity. I tried new techniques and challenges and addressed and questioned my control and perfectionism, and I found this journey so fascinating. And I talked in more detail about these processes in my previous videos on the channel, which is sharing insights from my first year of art journaling. And this calendar has become the climax of this 2025 adventure of finding more creative freedom and independence. Creating with cheap materials is a powerful liberation practice, especially for those who were made to believe that good art can be made only with expensive things like Daniel Smith watercolors or Sennelier pastels. I don't know, there is nothing wrong with these brands. I just use them to amplify my point, and I enjoy having good and quality materials. I have them, I use them, but we are different. Art is different. There are different stages of our life, different challenges that we go through, and sometimes it's much easier and more liberating to use something cheap and inexpensive that you don't have any anxiety in spending all these materials, in wasting them, as we call it. We just allow creativity speak. instead of scarcity. The worst thing that we can do to our art practice is to be rigid or fearful or arrogant or all at once. I broke the whole calendar project in 3 days. The first day was about painting my own papers, then the second day was about creating collages, and the third day was creating the grid and all other elements, and then arranging everything together and binding the result. And this project can be easily fitted in just 1 day, especially if you have company, a friend, a partner, a child. For me, it was a solo experience, and I can say for sure right now that it was the most fun and experimental and relaxing practice of this past year. Please let me know if this video inspired you to create a calendar/art journal thing like this, or maybe you have already created something similar. Let's connect and exchange some ideas. I've made a written list of tools, materials, and prompts in a Substack post. I've started a publication on Substack, so if you want to read that post and maybe subscribe to my future posts about art journaling, the link will be in the description and the first pinned comment. All this is for free, by the way, but if you decide to tip me for my work, all the links will be down below. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, dear fellow creatives. I'm wishing you gentle creativity, calm inspiration, and art that nourishes and supports you. And I will see you in the next video and maybe on Substack. Пока-пока!